I'm scared. All right, we're up live, are we not?
Yes, we are.
We're up live. Hey, everybody. And I want to see. So, where do I look for the public chats on this platform?
So it's going to show us comments. We're live on 2 Facebook pages, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Twitter. So you'll see where the comments are coming from.
Okay.
So if you guys see this, check in, say hi.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Join us live. Well, I tell you what, Facebook, there weren't many people that seem to be seeing my posts on Facebook. It's like 185,000 followers, and like 2 or 3 or 4 people seem like they may have seen it or something like that. So the censorship's pretty heavy, which I don't know what Facebook gets out of that, censoring the heck out of people. But anyway.
They want you to pay them to advertise. That's what it is.
Yeah. Well, whenever I did pay them to advertise years ago, it wasn't any better. So, all right, he's starting to see people.
We got people checking in from all over.
Let us know where
you're from.
Welcome, everyone. We're going to have fun with this, and this is some cool stuff that I've been tuning into, and I can't wait to share it. And some of you are already going to know it, but a lot of you are not, because this isn't getting very widely distributed for whatever reason, but it should. It's every single human deserves to know this, and it's just good. It's nothing but good. So, well, Kim, I think you're the only one that's going to see the comments, because I've got the chat section opened.
Oh, I see.
Oh, no, I got it. I just had to switch settings.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm seeing people.
Charles says, I'm a veteran and an advocate. If your mission is to help children, let's go. How can we align and help?
Yeah, man. Well, that's a great discussion, and we normally have those. I see Candy and Tyler on here already. Thanks, guys, for coming. So there's so many good people already. So look, all the stuff with children, that's what we're about. That's what Kim and I spend our lives and time doing, and others that you guys don't see ever on camera. We're thankful for everybody that's in the fight for the children. But look, in this fight, in this mission, I've grown spiritually, and I don't mean religious. There's a difference for me personally. I see, when I was a child, look, my dad was a very sincere pastor and devout, spiritual leader. I watched him genuinely change the lives of so many people and just give and give. He was always in the hospitals or going into the prison or traveling and just helping people. He meant it. He was good. That's how we're supposed to be. He was a giver of his energy and his time. And everywhere he went, people would just hug on him. And that was really inspiring. So that's spirituality for me. And what I didn't like when I was a boy is the religious part, where you have to wear hard shoes and a stiff collar, and you got to sit still and inside, most of the morning. When you wanted it, just as a child, you'd be out playing and all that kind of stuff. I don't like the religious aspect of what man creates. So, Jesus wore sandals and preached on the hillside, and I'd be cool with that. You know what I mean? It's not that I don't like church. I like good people there and the messages and everything, but when I pray and meditate, and some people will meditate, but they won't pray. Well, I don't want your God. I'm not going to pray, but I'll meditate because I'm in the martial arts, or I'm into yoga, or just centering myself or whatever. So I'm going to try to put this out as generically as I can, but I want everybody here to have it. And I want you to share it with anybody you care about, because this has been life-changing for me. And it's cool because I can riff off of Kim and say, hey, look, man, what do you think about this? And she already knows quite a bit about it, because she's very into a lot of health and wellness and fitness and all this. So she's very highly educated and aware of a lot of this. So she already gets it, which is cool. So I appreciate you jumping on this with me, Kim, to riff off of and have this conversation with people.
I'm here.
Say again. Okay. Well, so this technique, it's brain and heart coherence. And all it is they're scientifically taking these Tibetan monks and others, and they're bringing them into the laboratory, and they're connected in all sorts of modern monitoring equipment and measuring all different types of electromagnetic energies and this kind of stuff. And they're basically saying, okay, do your monk stuff, do your thing, and let's measure and see what you're doing. And their minds are blown. They're like, oh my gosh, these people are able to create some energy that we can't really account for. It doesn't make sense until we start studying it. So what they're finding out is you can create an electromagnetic field by coordinating your heart and your brain in a way that a lot of people never figure out how to do. A lot of these masters and monks and people do. I'm confident that my father, David Sawyer, the pastor, knew this because he meditated so much and he prayed so much, and I knew he was grateful. But essentially, I like boiling everything down to its simplest form. And Kim, you've expressed, you do too. It's just how people work, especially in the spec ops community. If everything's complicated and you're stringing together an operation with 50 tasks under adverse conditions, you want everything to be as simple as possible so that the mission is effective, it gets done. So the most simply I can put this, and we'll unpack it more, is if you pray or if you meditate, or even if you don't, if you're just driving in your car or you're waiting to go to sleep, or you're waiting to get out of bed and you don't want to get out of bed until you're in a better mood, here's a really cool thing that you can do. And it just makes everything better. But there's a lot of science behind it. There's stuff in the Bible about it. The scientists are figuring it out. And it's essentially you go into a state of deep, genuine gratitude from your heart. Not thinking I'm thankful, but feeling it from the heart, from literally from the heart muscle. And we'll get into it more. But if you allow yourself to feel the gratitude from your heart, and they say it's helpful to even touch your heart with your fingers or your hand, and just start feeling yourself share that emotion of gratitude. If you're praying to God, God, thank you for this, for that, for my health, for my family member, for this. I mean, we all have things that we see could be a whole lot worse. And when I start rattling off the list of things I'm grateful for, I can keep going. And because I've been through tough times, and I'm grateful for everything that I have. And so when you start giving that emotion of gratitude, what happens after about 3 minutes, they say, for me, it happens much quicker. It's more, I can start feeling it in about 10 seconds, literally. But your brain and your heart begin communicating through your spinal cord, and that electromagnetic communication starts accelerating, and your body starts generating this electromagnetic field that starts emanating out from your body. They say up to 3 meters in all directions. And your brain starts picking up its activity, goes to 40 cycles per second. And now they're saying as much as 300 cycles per second. That's not normal brain activity, folks. And in that state, though, you can heal. And this is where I hope people don't get thrown off like, well, I don't know about that from my religious perspective, or I don't see where it says that in the Bible. Well, I personally don't believe that every single thing that God gave us, all the tools that he gave us, have to necessarily be written out word for word in the Bible to be real and to be true and to be a gift that we have. Because if you look at the Bible, the Catholic Church has had a lot of influence over what gets put into it or taken out of it or translated or edited or kept in it over the millennia. So I'm a big proponent of what's in the Bible is good, but just because it's not specifically broken down in there, this is in the Bible, but it's very simply put, like, because you have faith, you are healed. In all things, give thanks. So this heart of gratitude, what it leads to is all the scientific and physiological and psychological benefit. So your brain works better. Guys can solve problems much, much better in this state. You can heal so much better in this state. Your mood elevates and all this kind of stuff. So what are they saying happens? They're saying that they're learning now that the heart muscle itself, the organ, actually has cells on it that are capable of cognition, like a brain cell. But it's a different type of cognition. The heart forms in the fetus before the brain does. The heart starts beating before the brain even starts functioning. So the heart has its own intuitive thought process that's more like the more basic primal, this is either true or it's untrue kind of a thought. This person's genuine or they're bogus. I feel this is good or bad. That kind of really intuitive connection. And the brain analyzes the heck out of everything. So it's a lot slower to get an answer from your brain. But when they start communicating, this energy starts increasing. And then this field starts emanating. Well, why do you care if an electromagnetic field starts radiating out from your body? Well, now they're starting to analyze what's the universe made of. They used to call the stuff between the particles ether, kind of the nothingness. And then they started calling it dark matter because, well, matter, which we don't really know what it is. And so that which is unknown, we're just going to refer to it as dark. So the dark matter between the particles. And by the way, folks, most of us know that most things that seem solid are inherently not solid. Even if they're steel, it's mostly nothingness, because the particles, they say if they took all the particles in the entire universe, all of the planets, everything, all the stardust, everything, and they condensed it all down to where the particles were just barely touching, all of that mass would reduce down to the size of a single green pea. So that's how much space there is between the actual particles that make up everything. And so everything's moving at a different frequency and a different vibration. And that's how we relate to whether or not something's solid, liquid, gas, or plasma, or what have you. But everything's vibrating and at different rates. So they're saying now, instead of ether or dark matter, on the spiritual side, they refer to it as the divine matrix, that which the fabric of the universe, that which is between all the particulate matter. And in the science side of it, they're calling it the quantum field, electromagnetic field that everything interacts with. And that's how they're figuring long range communication happens. Like, I knew I had a dog that was, I don't know if I told you this, Kim, I may have. I was at SEAL Team 1. The dog that I'd grown up with was 18 years old. And I called my mom from the Philippines and I said, Mom, I know my dog's dead. What happened? I could feel it. And Mom said, no, she's right here on my lap. She's fine. Why are you so adamant that she's dead? I'm like, I can feel that she's gone. I just wanted to know what happened. And Mom's like, no, she's fine. And next time I talked to my mom, she said, Craig, it wasn't probably 2 minutes between the time that you called and the time that she was dead. Because when I hung up the phone with you, your dad went out the front door, a dog wanted to go out the back door, 18-year-old dog, and my dad went to go drive and leave, and he felt a bump under the back tire. Now, this dog had grown up with no fence, and she knew the driveway and the road right there. 18 years, she'd seen cars come and go millions of times. Dad felt a bump. He got out of the car to check and see what the heck that was. It was her. And she died. So he came back in the house with tears in his eyes moments later. And she's like, oh my God, Craig was just on the phone telling me that she was gone. And so how did I sense that? I don't know how it works. Certainly didn't then. And the Russians have done an experiment where they took a rabbit and her babies in the laboratory, kept the babies in the laboratory. They put the rabbit on a Russian sub and took her to the bottom of the ocean, thousands of miles away. And they hooked her up with a bunch of monitoring equipment, and they killed one of her babies. At that instant, her brain went completely freaky Jason. I mean, she went haywire. How did she know? At the bottom of the ocean, in a nuclear submarine, thousands of miles away. Well, it's got to be this quantum field, this electromagnetic field that this long-range communication happens through. I think that's how prayer works too. I don't have any way of proving that, but it seems to me like that's the deal. So when you pray, check this out. If you pray, if you give thanks for your prayer being answered as though it has already been done, that's faith. And that celebration, that emotion that it's already done, causes the quantum field or the divine matrix to respond, because that's that emotion, that electromagnetic frequency is the language apparently that it understands and responds to. That's what makes it happen. It kicks it into gear, is the theory. So no wonder Jesus said, because of your faith, you're healed. And there's faith in the Bible. Well, that's how we're divinely designed, because when you have faith, you're able to have your prayers answered, because God wants us to have faith. So, are we to be thankful for things? Yes. And all things. It doesn't say in the good things, right? So I don't care what we're up against in life. We're better cognitively. We're in a better mood. We make better, wiser decisions, and we're more powerful, and we heal better. We're in better health when we're in a heart of gratitude. So no wonder Jesus said those things. I think he understood exactly how it worked. He just want to break it down scientifically, because they didn't really understand science 2,000 years ago like we do now. It wouldn't have made any sense to them. Kim, I've been running my mouth. What do you think so far about? Is it making sense, or am I messing this all up?
Yes, no, it is, and you say it so clearly and so like comprehensively. Like there's so much to this, and I love this stuff. To me, going on this whole journey of learning all these things helped me understand or define or tangibly get religion in a way that science can explain, but also with or without the supernatural, these are proven concepts. So these are irrefutable, provable, measurable concepts. Yeah. Then when you combine it with the supernatural, which is also proven, but in a less tangible way, it's powerful stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to know scientifically how something works to have faith. I've always believed in God, and I've always had faith. But it's cool sometimes when they figure out just some of it scientifically, and go, oh, wow, here's part of why this is. Here's part of how it works. Like my friend Jack Sacco that figured out the quantum physics of how the resurrection functioned. I'm fascinated by that. I appreciate knowing. It's just cool. It makes it even more glorious and more beautiful knowing a little bit of the science of what took place there. Like, wow, that is so ridiculously rare and supernatural and fascinating and beautiful. But so prayer and meditation, they're different. And in my mind, and you guys correct me if I have my concept of this wrong, but prayer is communication. You communicating whatever you have to God. And then meditation is receiving. So it's like with a military radio. You press to talk and you release to listen. So prayer is talking to God, and meditating is when we hear that still small voice. And we can't hear a still small voice when the phone's blaring and the TV's on and the doorbell's ringing, or the horns are honking and the text messages are blowing up and the bills are piling up and life is screaming at us. We can't hear that still small voice. So no wonder if you type in a word search for Bible on meditation, you'll pull up 20 scriptures right off the top about meditation. We're to read the Bible and we're to meditate on it. Why? So we can hear, so it can be translated, so we can download the understanding and go, wow, I'm getting a little bit more. I remember what I read, and now it's making more sense, because you give yourself the time to receive. And it's really unfortunate that I got into a discussion with somebody recently, and he's like, you can't receive from God. That's mysticism. I'm like, what a horrible, horrible lie somebody put on you, brother, that they told you can't pray to your own creator. and get guidance back. I'm like, if that's the standard, if hearing from God when you pray and meditate, as the Bible says you're supposed to do, if that's mysticism and that's a bad thing, then guess what? Jesus was a mystic. All of the disciples were mystics. John the Baptist, Noah, Moses, go all the way down the list. Everybody who prayed to God and heard and got any direction that they were seeking would, by that very tragic and rigid definition, be mystics. And I'm like, who's putting that out? Who would do that except for man who wants control over other men to be a gatekeeper? You got to go through me to pray to your creator. Well, how convenient, especially if that person wants to take a toll. You got to be in our club. We have to sign off on you being cool, or you have to pay us or something, some sort of gatekeeper function. I'm like, man, when I pray to God, I don't sense any of that. I sense my Father, my creator. And it's a lot more beautiful and accepting and gracious than that. So I think the tragic part is anybody that's been lied to and put under the boot of somebody that wants to be a gatekeeper and says, well, hey, you can't pray and hear from God, or that's mysticism. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. And that's not what I sense and get when I pray to God and listen at all. And I would not want anyone to suffer under that. So anyway, I just wanted to say that I'm not wanting to argue with anybody. If that's what you want to believe, you're welcome to it. I just think it's tragic and not the way that it's intended.
Completely.
I don't see anywhere in the Bible where it says you need to go through some sort of gatekeeper to hear from God. Now, are there great pastors and ministers who know the Word of God fantastically and have studied it tremendously and have a genuine heart and can relay messages and lessons better than you can figure out yourself? Absolutely, all day long. We've got one right here at OVCN in Tucson. Fantastic. We got two fantastic pastors. I learn from them all the time. So I'm not saying there aren't those who translate, those who break down lessons for us. That's nothing but good. But if someone's saying, no, you can't pray and talk to God and hear back, man, I think that's tragic. And we need to examine that, because I talk to God all the time. The more I talk to him, the more beautiful and loving it feels. And man, I would want that for anybody. So it's not about being religious. I'm not all about wearing hard shoes and a stiff collar and turning around 3 times and saying nursery rhymes and whatever people decide that they want to do that's not in the Bible. They're welcome to do that. If it makes them feel better, but I'm not attracted to that. I'm attracted to the real, the personal experience that I'm having. And it's just so beautiful. So this technique, when I sit down and I pray this way, I just start off, guys. I just feel the thanks, and I'll say out loud, I'll say, God, thanks for my wife. Thanks for her health. Thanks for that we have a roof over our head. I'll just go down the list, and I'm being genuine. I'm feeling it. And it's not but a few seconds where I can start feeling this glow, this warmth, this energy, because my brain and heart are already starting to resonate, and this field is beginning, and I can feel. And I just do that for quite a while. Sometimes that's all I do is just give thanks for half an hour at a time. Other times, once I'm warmed up and I've given thanks and I can feel this energy resonating, then I'll ask for things. God, help my friend so-and-so. He's struggling right now with a family issue. Please bless him. Just reach down and just hug him and strengthen him and help him feel better and help his family situation improve. Let him know that it's you, or whatever I have to ask. And then when I finish up, I celebrate. Thank you, God, for honoring that prayer. I thank you that it's done. I thank you that you're already working on it, that it's already happening. I celebrate the victory of that prayer being answered as though it's already happened. That's where the faith comes in. And that emotion of that victory, seeing, smelling, hearing in my mind that it's already done, and the celebration of it, that's what the quantum field or the divine matrix responds to, apparently, in the electromagnetic field. And there you go. Next thing you know, you're getting a phone call. Craig, you won't believe, but I had just the most amazing day. Thanks for, praying. And I'm like, well, here's how I prayed. And here's why it just, I think and feel like my prayers are being answered more because of this. Some people, and they refer to these techniques in different ways. Some people call it manifesting. And I can manifest something by doing this technique. Well, if it works for him, it works for him. But for me, with my prayer or my meditation, it's just how I do it. And even when I'm driving, I just give thanks and I feel better. And I have less stress. I have a more hopeful attitude. I have a more positive outlook. And it feels good. And I'm tapping into something that I'm no different or better than any of you. In fact, I've stopped a lot of punches with this head. If my brain can function well enough to do this, you guys can too. It's for you. We are all created by the same entity, the same God. And he loves us all. And he wants us to have this. So anybody tells you, you can't do that, it's not part of our, group. We are the gatekeepers. We get to tell you what's religious or whatever. I'm sorry. I don't subscribe to that. If people are wanting to minimize and limit themselves, they can. But I'm feeling a God that's just loving and wants us to be able to heal and wants us to be able to communicate with them and better ourselves. And I'll tell you what, man, when I pray and I meditate, you know what I'm getting back a lot of times? I'm sensing the weaker, worst parts of myself. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm feeling that, I'm getting this sense that I'm too judgmental. And there'll be a scenario that plays out in my mind. I'm like, man, I'm sitting here giving thanks to God and I'm praying and I'm asking, what do I need to do? What do I need to understand? What do I need to know? I'm like, ouch. I need to work on my being overly judgmental. I didn't expect that. I wasn't aware of that, but I can feel it. And I'm like, okay. So in every case, it's like, okay, I need to work on this. I need to work on that because I'm asking, what do I need to understand? And it's cool. And anyway, so there's the technique. They say that it's your body, this electromagnetic frequency that it puts out is at 0.1 hertz, which, by the way, they say that's what planet Earth is tuned to. And that's why the electromagnetic field here functions at 0.1 hertz. It may be different on different planets, but we're not there. We're here. So the emotion of gratitude, the emotion of compassion, they also say love, really it's just a state of giving, pouring out love. But for some people, they've been through all kinds of things. Love means different things to different people. So the safe way to do it is a heart of gratitude. For me, it just works like a charm. I'm not going to change. Once I'm in that heart of gratitude, I'm feeling that and it's resonating, I will give a lot of praise and I'll share love and I'll pray for positive things for people that I care about and for guidance. But it's really that gratitude that kicks it all off for me. So I start there and look, I want to be in a heart of gratitude every moment from now on for the rest of my life. While I'm human, my brain, like I said, I've stopped a lot of punches with this head and I've broken some helmets with my brain in there. So I've had a lot of TBI. So I'm not perfect, man, and never was. So I'll find myself still sometimes getting frustrated or impatient or this or that. But I'm telling you, I'm reminding myself more and more frequently, get back to a heart of gratitude, Craig, because whatever you're going to encounter, aren't you better in a state of gratitude and thankfulness approaching a crisis or a challenge or a situation? Absolutely. So I'm just doing that. And I'm meeting people who are finding this out their own way. There's a guy that goes to our church. He's in a business. We had a meeting yesterday over business, and we're just in line getting food. And he goes, I'm finding out that there's a lot of overlap with what people believe. And a lot of people say, that's over there, that's bad. You can't delve in any of that because that's horrible. It's bad. And he goes, really, so much of it is the same. There's a lot more of it that's okay, that's overlap. I'm like, dude, I'm learning the same thing. Not as much as evil and horrible and counter to God as a lot of people believe. I think here in Arizona, you can drive down the street and see 15 churches in 5 minutes. And each of those 15 churches, they have like 3 or 4 different types of services they have on Sunday morning, just because man has so many different preferences. If you go to a parking lot and you look at cars, you're not going to find 2 cars the same, because they're all different makes, all different models, all different years, interiors, engine options, wheels, on and on and on. There's all these different things. People don't like the same stuff. They do it to religion too, but true spirituality, if we all only have one creator, and that's all I sense, is there's just one magnificent, beautiful, loving God that creates me and loves me back. Man, I want everybody to experience that and not be so tripped up and divided that someone else over there isn't doing it exactly the way you're doing it. So they're bad, and God's going to torture them forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and never stop. I'm kind of releasing a lot of that. It's not my business. It's not for me to judge somebody else. I do me. And I don't feel nearly as critical anymore of how other people are worshiping God, because I think he's big enough to love them back. He created them, and he understands what they know and what they don't know. And that's between them and him. So I think a lot more of it is okay than a lot of us had been told. And a lot of this dogma, I think it's very man generated and very man centered and beneficial for the gatekeepers, and not for you and me. So just realize that man tends to do that. Man tends to put himself between you and whatever you want to access, so that they can take a toll, either for power, influence, money, what have you. So just realize, I think we were created by a glorious and perfect and loving God that we have direct access to, just like you should for your daddy. So, Kim, what do you think? How am I doing?
Amazing. No, all of these things, I'm like, you say it so well, and it makes so much sense, and there's so much depth to everything. So yes, I like all of it a lot. You use the word tragic, I think, to describe, men or people, humans who essentially use religion to control people. I think it's important for people to understand that there's spirituality, which I believe is very personal and personalized. Like you're saying, it's not a one size fits all power. It's bigger than that, right? It is comprehensive enough to accept all of us or to cover all of us, but there's not one way that all of us know it. And then separately, there's religion, which can mean a lot of things, but it can sometimes also mean that there are people controlling or filtering the information from God to people.
Yeah.
And that puts these people in very high positions of power and authority. And sometimes if they abuse that power, that can be difficult for people to see through or to counter, because they're essentially speaking for God. So this whole message of the personal connection with your creator, I think it's not only powerful, it's so important, because that is our power, and that can be taken from us, or we can be separated from that power when there's a man in the middle.
Distracted from it too, with all these things. I mean, I don't think the people that are ruining the world right now want us connected to God, because if we're united with each other and we're all united with God, that puts the global power mongers in a very bad spot. And I think that's why there's so much effort to distract us and occupy our brains and overly medicate us and even mess with our DNA so that we can't do what we were created to do. Now, I've met so many people, and Kim, I mean, I won't say you're one, but you have experienced man driven religion in a negative way in your life. But you still know that you have a creator and you're still good with that. You just don't like what man did in the religious cult. Really, it was that you were brought up in. That was horrible. That's not what God, there was no God in that. In fact, it was the opposite of, but they were operating under the banner of religion so that they could abuse that trusted status, which again, it's horrific. And I think there's a big price to pay for them. But I meet a lot of people that they're like, oh, well, I'm not religious. And they'll talk about how badly man screwed it up. I'm like, man, you're talking about man. I see that fault with man also. I'm not talking about man. I'm talking about your creator. He hasn't done those things. Man has fallen short. We're all jacked up until we start fixing ourselves. And so when I pray and I start sensing, oh man, I'm starting to become very aware of a fault that I wasn't even really aware of before. And what's wrong with that? Of learning what I need to work on in my workshop, in me, in my soul, to become better and elevate. And man, I'm grateful for it. I'm like, man, I didn't know about the judgmental thing. I never consider myself a very judgmental person, but I was sensing it very strongly. Like, okay, Craig, you need to work on that. There's a couple other things too, but other things more private, but it's so good. And I know that it's good. You can tell that it's good information. Like, oh, wow, I want to become better. So, when people start doing this, you see a lot of people, they'll just quit drinking. Maybe they weren't drinking too much, but I've talked to several people. I have, wine with dinner, but now I don't, because I'm doing this. And like, I'm wanting to be a better person. I'm wanting to elevate my soul. I'm wanting to be closer to God. And so this technique is like, it's fantastic. So that's why I wanted to jump on. And again, Kim, I appreciate you, humoring me and hopping on with this. And for people that say that you can't talk to God, well, Jeremiah 33:3 says, and this is in the New King James Version, call to me and I will answer you and show you great and mighty things which you do not know. Okay. So there's on and on and on, but Jesus wasn't a horrible mystic. And if you think he was, would you stone him or would you crucify him? And if you would, because he doesn't believe how to practice religion the same way you do, what does that say about you? Because Jesus did show us the way. He was the way. He showed us how to do it. I mean, he was the man. The best we can do is mimic and try to be as much like him. He wasn't judgmental. He didn't apologize for speaking the truth. He went around helping people. He was not materialistic, because so many people pray for riches and wealth and money. God, give me this. Well, be careful what you wish for, what you pray for, because so many of the times, wealth and extravagance and comfort, will that bring you closer to your creator, or will that distract you and bring you further away? Because a lot of people, they have everything that they want. Sometimes they get complacent, or they start going down some crazy goat trail. They get bored and they start getting into weird stuff. Howard Hughes, I mean, look at a lot of these billionaires. Little doesn't do it after a while of whatever. And so they do more and more, and they get weird and they get lost because people aren't willing to call them out, their inner circle, and go, hey, bro, you're getting weird. You're getting off on that. You're becoming a worse person. Catch yourself, So be careful what you pray for. Jesus say, you want to follow me, ditch all your wealth, and I'll show you something that's more important than anything you could rack up as far as material items. That's not where wealth comes from. Once you understand the big picture, that's not what you want anyway. Sell all your stuff and follow me, and the ones that were wise would. And there was one that he just couldn't. He's like, no, I like my stuff too much. That was his loss. So, look, God created us in his image with his DNA out of the same stardust that he created everything else with, same material. That's divine. And if some people are, you're not divine. Well, no, I'm not divine. I'm not like God in that I'm all knowing and righteous and perfect. No, I'm messed up. But I was created by a perfect God with divine stuff and with his divine DNA and with the specific ability to seek him and improve myself and elevate myself spiritually to become more like him for all my days. And that's divine. I don't care what anyone says to me. That's you can't tell me where that's not divine. So if you think we're horrible monsters, then why do we have a sense of right and wrong? Why are we able to improve ourselves and elevate? And why did God make us at all? Right? Why are we his children if we're not made with his stuff and made to draw closer to him? Right? So it's just semantics and outlook. Some people say we're divine, we're not divine. We're all God's children. I think we can all agree on that. And whatever that means to you, but I know what it means to me, and that is divine. Does it mean I'm perfect? Nope. I got a long ways to go, but I'm enjoying the journey and the process. And it does make me want to be better. Always. It makes me want to be better. I'm growing more spiritually now than I have in my whole life. And I'm more excited about it than I have been ever in my life. Because the God that I'm praying to and feeling and understanding and getting feedback from is more loving and accepting and welcoming than other people have described him to me. So I think going direct is a pretty good thing. Hopefully I'm not racking up a big long distance, collect phone call bill. Oh, but that's what we're doing. Yeah, I'm a mess, but I'm his mess, right? I think so. That's how we can see that. I just want to look through my notes real quick to make sure I'm not missing anything I intended to say.
We had one question from Laz Benitez. He says, Salman, what is your suggestion on meditation for someone who is extremely hyperactive?
Well, here's one thing that helps me. I put on very calming music. And what kind of music do you mean, Craig? I mean, I'm talking music that you would hear if you went in to get a massage, like slow, tranquil, beautiful. It's just kind of floating. And I like that kind of music for meditating because it's not disruptive. It doesn't distract my brain. So while mostly throughout the day, I listen to a lot of praise and worship music because there's a lot of really beautiful stuff out now, but they have words and they have drums. I'm a drummer. I love drums. I love the beat, but that kind of music with verbiage and beat and stuff like that, it's harder to focus on your own thoughts. If you're turning inward, which is prayer and meditation, it's helpful if the music is soft and flowing so that it's not disrupting your thoughts. So that's the kind of music I'll put on headphones because it tunes out a lot of other stuff and it kind of brings you inside so you can focus. And that really is a huge thing. So that will help. And then if you slow your breathing somewhat, all right, from your normal rate, just slow your breathing down because when you do that, it helps slow your heart rate and help you feel calm and relaxed, and that'll help you focused. And then when you start letting your heart feel that gratitude, and that starts building, and your mind starts, your brain starts coordinating with your heart, and that superhighway of electromagnetic energy starts increasing, and you'll start feeling the energy that feels really good. And in that, you'll start having your own inner, like, private Idaho, so to speak. You'll be able to focus much more intently and easily because it's really cool in there. Okay. When you're in that state. So that'd be my technique, my suggestion, not just for anybody who's super hyperactive, like your question, but for anybody, because it helps me tune in, man. And God's got a lot of work to do on me. And I'm celebrating this technique and growth. I wish my parents were still here so I could tell them about it. Anyway,
It's powerful.
they know about it now. um, yeah, that's it, man. That's really all I had to put out. So I can go through, answer any questions or anything like that. I saw the Claridges. They were friends of my parents on here. That's so cool to see them. I wonder what my dad or mom would have thought of some of this, because some of this is new technology that they're studying in the laboratories. And, I hope my parents wouldn't have thought, oh, well, that's, falls under this one category or something or other and somehow bad. But man, when you feel it and you're talking to God, there's nobody that can tell me that's bad. And I feel the love, and it's, God's not telling me to go hurt people or be selfish or anything like that. It's all positive stuff that it's biblical. I know that's in the Bible. It's just, it's more clear. And it's positive stuff that makes me want to be a better person and be closer to God. So nobody can tell me that's not good.
Definitely. Jessica says, how were you able to keep faith and gratitude in some of the ugly realities you've seen and lived through?
Well, here's one way for me personally, because I'm not perfect. I had to be sent back to the starting line several times in life, and on gratitude and faith was one of those things, or two of those things, however you want to slice them up. I've had things happen to me where I was like, God, why me? Why did this horrible challenge befall me? Why this horrible thing? And then years or decades later, or sometimes even months later, I could look back and go, oh, wow, that was a really beneficial learning experience that helps me do what I do now, that I wouldn't know if I hadn't had that hardship that taught me that thing so very clearly. And I'm like, God, you knew. It's almost like he's looking down and going, yeah, thank you, son, for the credit, finally. You know what I mean? And so every challenge that we go through, and here's my spiritual outlook now, this life is a series of, it's a learning ground. This is a training course for our soul. If you believe spiritually that you're a soul in a temporary 3D body, right? We're driving this body. I call it a rental car for a limited number of days on this earth. And during that time, we are to learn about ourselves, and we are to improve ourselves spiritually. So I no longer see challenges as an attack on me or a bad thing that happened. It's all just learning, whether it's a health challenge or it's a financial challenge or a relationship challenge. Now I can immediately give thanks right in the middle of the storm without even waiting. I've had to go back to the starting line so many times and relearn this to where now I don't hesitate. Thank God I've gotten to this point. I can immediately, without even understanding what God is going to bring out of it, I know that every time something good is meant from it. And it's not that God throws a challenge at you. We make decisions as life happens down here and we encounter things. But every challenge is like an obstacle. And you get to decide how you're going to navigate that obstacle. Are you going to fall down and yell and scream at someone you care about and lose your composure and be disappointed in yourself later? like you may have 30 years ago or 20 or 5 days ago, or because it's a glorious opportunity to do it again, a do-over. You get another chance to do better. Will you navigate it this time in a way that I'm going to swallow my ugly words and I'm going to give thanks. I'm going to put a smile on and I'm going to say, you know what, sir, ma'am, I'm sorry. I messed up, or whatever the righteous way to navigate it is, so that on the other side of it, once that challenge is behind you, you're inside, you know that you did good. You're like, I did it right for once, or I did it right for the 50th time, and I'm doing it better every time. So life happens, but life is a series of opportunities for us to navigate all these challenges and do better. And once you're able to do better in that, then you'll find that you have greater capacity and awareness of those around you. Then you can start scanning around and going, okay, I'm doing all right in my life. I got a little bit more bandwidth. Let me go and start helping those around me. Let me start lifting other people up. Let me go reach down to someone I see that's hurting. Let me make a phone call to someone I haven't called in a while and say, hey, brother, sister, you okay? I just want to love on you for a minute. I'm just going to do a flyby and bless you for a minute for no apparent reason. You okay? You good? Yeah, thanks so much. Saw I was having a bad day. You may not believe this, but man, I was really in a bad place, and your phone call just made such a great difference. Yay! So whenever you see somebody they're miserable and they're a jerk, and they're not good to be around, and they don't care about anybody around them, that's a person that's overwhelmed with their own problems. And they're maxed out. Their bandwidth is maxed out. They don't have any for anybody else. But when you see people that are well adjusted, they seem happy, and they're going around and they're helping others, they have kind of overcome a lot of stuff in their life, and they have enough bandwidth to pay attention outward to others. That's where the consideration, the compassion comes in. We're to be compassionate. We're to be givers, right? That's another thing. I think in the Bible ties to the church. Why? Because God needs some fiat paper currency to run the universe? No, he didn't need that. He's never needed that. But we need to give. We need to learn to give and quit being so stingy and selfish and holding on to everything and start giving. It's a principle that we need. God doesn't need us to tithe. We need to do it for ourselves, for our own spiritual development. We're to be givers. So help others. And so when you see somebody helping others, you're going to see that they're a stronger person. They're a more elevated and well-adjusted person. And they have the extra bandwidth to pay attention to others and have compassion, to empathize with others who have it worse, and pay attention and help. So that's how I give thanks, as I know that a challenge isn't God punishing me and making my life miserable because I'm a horrible person and he doesn't love me and feel bad about it. There's a challenge because this is life. This is a 3D human life. And this is my time to learn and develop as a soul. So I'm going to navigate that obstacle in a heart of gratitude. And I'm going to do my very best. Sometimes I don't do it perfectly, but I'm doing better. And I'm grateful for that opportunity to do better. That the challenges are not over, that there's always going to be another chance, another opportunity for me to do better. And so I'm actually excited about that, because I've kind of hacked the concept of what's going on. And if you can get there and understand that that's how it works, you won't feel like God's beating up on you or life's beating up on you anymore. You'll just be like, man, this is a chance to learn, and I'm going to shine. And when my eyes close for the last time, I'll look back and go, yeah, I did all right. I improved. I elevated. I worked on myself and I improved. And that's the whole point. That's what this life is. So that's how I do it. And I hope it works for you, because it sure does for me.
Love it. We have a few other questions coming in. So Cherry says, what is your favorite scripture to pray?
To pray, well, I like reading the scriptures and just contemplating what they mean. But when I pray, I just communicate to God, and I give him thanks. And mostly what I pray for is his will to be done. Because if I pray that Kim gets a new Ferrari, well, he may not want Kim to have a new Ferrari. He may know that she needs, I'm just completely making up, completely notional. He may know that she needs a pickup truck because there's going to be a big storm and she needs to jump a few curbs and get the heck out of there, where she would have passed away in a Ferrari. So I don't pray for things specifically that I want, other than to bless people that I care about, or for God's will to be done, and that I understand what his will is so that I can carry it out. Because whatever I want, I'm not the creator of the universe. I don't know how many hairs are on everyone's head and hold everybody together at the subatomic particle level. So I don't know what's best, and I'm wise enough to know that I don't know. So I pray for his will to be done. So that's really how I pray.
I love it. Nicholas says, what is the thing that always reminds you to keep pushing during extremely hard times?
The thing really that reminds me to keep pushing is that it's an opportunity. Hard times are an opportunity. You can do poorly or you can do well. God gave us free will, and you're welcome to choose either solution. Whatever you want to do, you're welcome to do it. And on the other side of it, you'll have a sense of how you feel about that. You're your own soul. So how do you want to handle yourself? And how I want to handle myself is better and better and better all the time. So that's how I remember to just keep the faith and keep a smile on and go, sweet. I'm going to do this one so much better than I would have last month, because I'm a better me than I was last month, So it's about that. That works for me.
Nice. John says, how do I rid my daily thoughts of guilt? I'm doing good, but look back.
Well, guilt, look, God's grace is amazing. His grace is amazing. It's so amazing, someone should write a song about it. Amazing grace. So look, I think we're a lot harder on ourselves than he is on us. The prodigal son story, the father was running to his son with arms wide open. And so when we realize that we've come short, that's the key. Realize it. And then what are you going to do about it? Are you going to turn right around and do the same thing again? And if you do, how do you feel about that? And if that's not your best, God's there loving you through it and encouraging you to try it better. Right? He's still there. You haven't lost him. And so that guilt is a man-made thing. Again, back to the dogma that you need this overwhelming dark gloom of guilt that beats you down and demoralizes you and stresses you out and causes you to want to give up and not even try to become better. I haven't seen anything in the Bible, and I haven't felt anything or heard anything when I pray that indicates that I need to be overridden with guilt about my mistakes and that I need to quit because I can't fix it. Right? Repent means to change your behavior. So if you don't like what you've done before, change your behavior and do better. And guess what? God has forgiven you. If you're not positive, ask him, God, please forgive me. I feel really bad about I did this one thing, and I don't want that to be me anymore, ever again. And then change your behavior. And guess what? It's over. It doesn't exist anymore. So you need not carry that. Like in the Marine Corps, we would say, ground your ruck, Marine. In other words, pull the tabs, loosen the ruck, loosen the straps, and let that ruck fall to the deck behind you. That's what God wants you to do to all that guilt. He doesn't want you to heaving that around. It makes you lesser effective at becoming better. Let go of it and do better from right now forward. That's how that works. That's my view of it. That's my honest view of how it works. And guys, look, I'm not trying to preach. I'm not qualified. I'm just telling you from personal experiences or recently what I'm learning and how I see it. So that's, again, I haven't been to seminary and I'm not trying to teach people the Bible or be any sort of authority. I'm just Craig Sawyer sharing a prayer and meditation technique that's really doing wonders in my life. And I just wanted to share it. So that's the only place I'm coming from. So I want everybody to be clear on that. Okay.
Nanabe says, when in your life did you feel your spirit to be the closest to God?
Oh, it's now it is. And it's getting better. I intend on elevating for the rest of my days now. I'm hooked on to God now like never before. It's really cool. It's more beautiful and more exciting and more fun than it's ever been. And I could see why people don't like religion or the oppressive and restrictive and stiff dogma that a lot of these religious man-run and man-created religions put out, that's not in the Bible. And you have to do all this stuff that's, the music's morbid and the culture's oppressive and it's just dark and gloomy and the morbid, dark, sacred, horrific, oppressive, black, this, like, just stop. God's not about that stuff. It's just man does that. So anyway, I feel like I'm rambling.
No, it's all good stuff. I think this is really helpful for people. We're getting a lot of support in the comments. Jessica says, your expertise and knowledge is so invaluable to so many people. Tatuki says, you're doing great. It's a good message. It's powerful. And I think people not only need to hear it, but it's also helpful to hear it from someone who can simplify it while explaining it cohesively or in a way people can resonate with.
Well, Jesus said, my yoke is easy, right? It's easy to love God back. Just love him back. He's your daddy. He's your daddy. He created you. He knows you better than any human could. He loves you more than any human has the capability of loving. We can't love on that level. And it's easier and better and more fun and more beautiful. Just know him, just love him back and just work on yourself and improve yourself. Jesus showed us what to do. Follow that example and just work on yourself. That can be a very fun journey, right? As you start feeling this, like, man, this is better than, I thought, like a rock and roll star, he may have thought when he was in his youth, yeah, I thought hookers and blow was the way to go. But now, look at all of these old rock and rollers that they change their ways. They become more wise. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work, but for a season. And they keep chasing stuff and they realize it's empty. Because the best things in life are not things, the relationships. And on the spiritual level, man, improving yourself and elevating yourself spiritually and growing closer to God is nothing here can touch that. No yachts or country clubs or any of that can bring you that. I'd rather walk through the desert with Jesus, and learn how it all works. you know, than be on the fantail in the hot tub of the biggest, fanciest yacht, you know, even though that sounds very attractive to a lot of people. When you understand on the bigger level, it really does. It's about knowledge and the big picture that really matters, you know. And like my earthly father, David Sawyer, he wasn't distracted by a lot of the things that trip a lot of men up. It's like he was so focused because he spent a lot of time fasting and a lot of time praying and meditating. I mean, a lot of time. And so I know he was tuned in. So he understood the big picture. He wasn't distracted by all the silly stuff that trips a lot of men up. So I grew up under that and watched him. I thought, man, what an exceptional human being. I could never be like that. Well, now that I'm starting to feel it more, because look, I grew up, I was the beneficiary of all, you know, probably 3,000 sermons, and it was all great and real stuff. And I saw miracles and genuine hearts set free and all that. It was great, but I wasn't reading the Bible for myself through the middle part of my life. And I wasn't studying, and I wasn't praying in a way of God, I really want to be closer to you. I was praying in a way of, you know, God bless my team, because we're going to go kick the pants out of a bunch of terrorists tonight and, you know, be with us as warriors. We're carrying out your will, right? We're going to stop evil from, you know, blowing up civilians, and that kind of praying, but not like I do now. Like you pray to your daddy. So it's just been a process, man. So I'll never stop. Now I'm excited finally about it. So, and you know what else I'm excited about is going to cooking a gourmet dinner, green chef for my wife. I love doing that. And so I'm on tonight. It's my cook night. So let me answer a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap this up so it's not too long for people to wade through.
I think we got most of the questions out of the way. If anyone has any last questions for Craig, put them in the comments. This replay will be available on all the platforms you're watching it on. So yes, you can watch it from the beginning.
So I see Joanne Wood on. So Joanne and I grew up in church together. Her family, her parents were good friends with my parents. Her mom used to play the organ in our church, and her brother Jimmy was a friend of mine. And oh yeah, there's her mom right there. If you guys can see that, Katie Wood's still with us. What a beautiful soul she is. A lot of love. So anyway, it's cool to see some of these people pop up that knew my parents and knew the church I grew up in. It just brings it all full circle. That's one cool thing about social media is you get to just chat with people that you've known from, you know, kindergarten onward, which is pretty neat. So anyway,
we have a complicated question, a good one though. Keith says, how do I reconcile my history of violence with God's commandment of thou shalt not kill? I struggle daily.
Well, King David was a man after God's own heart, and he killed tens of thousands. Saul killed his thousands and David his tens of thousands. They were singing. Well, tens of thousands, that's a lot of killing. And how was he a man after God's own heart? Now, he screwed up very, very severely, David. But as a warrior, he was defending his nation, and God blessed him. And so what it really should say in the translation, according to my understanding, and forgive me if I've got this wrong, but thou shalt not murder, meaning don't go kill someone that you don't like because you're in an argument with them or something like that, because that's a soul and they're on this life to fix themselves. And if you kill them and murder them, you cut their life short and they can't fix themselves. So God's great, and he works miracles in people's lives, and even horrible people can work on themselves and become better and elevate before they pass on. And so we don't want to cut that short. That's why you shouldn't take your own life, because God's got some cool stuff for you that you'll never be able to work through your problems to get past the obstacle and overcome it and attain that victory and celebrate it if you cut your life short, right? If you quit and check out. thou shalt not do that. So that's what it's saying. It's thou shalt not murder. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't defend your nation on the battlefield, because that's been going on from the beginning of time. And so that's my understanding of it. Again, I'm not the authority on it, but that's how I see that. When I was operating, I was always slept just fine, and I feel good about that. I served honorably in good faith for righteous reasons. So,
Right.
let it go.
I think one thing on that too is interesting, that that's a commandment from the 10 Commandments. So back in the day of Moses, right? Then Jesus came in the New Testament, and he said love is the most important thing. He said a lot of things about how love trumps everything. There's a verse about greater love has no man than this, than a man lay down his life for his friend.
Yeah.
So protecting your country on the battlefield, laying down your life for another, the way Jesus simplified it, right? There's nothing more important than love.
Yeah.
And greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. What you guys did in the service, among many other things, was laying down your life for your friends. So thank you to all of those who served. That is my 2 cents.
I like your 2 cents. All right, man.
Last question from Tyler. He says, Craig, how do you beat complacency so you don't lose touch with the Spirit? Last question, then you go to dinner.
Tell Tyler we've ended our question time, and he gets cut off. No. How do I started joking around and I messed up the question. Say the question for me again, Kim.
Craig, how do you beat complacency so you don't lose touch with the Spirit?
Yeah. Well, every day is it can be a challenge or a struggle or a day of victory. So whenever it occurs to you, just bring yourself back to a heart of gratitude and just tune in again and again. And the more often you do it, the more elevated your spirits and outlook are going to be, your attitude, your emotion. And then next thing you know, it's a way of life for you. You're a dude who's got a great attitude and outlook because you've learned to be thankful. It's a higher way to exist and walk through this life of challenge. It really is. So complacency, when you start getting accustomed to this, you start exercising this type of prayer and meditation, and things start happening, positive things because of it. You'll start getting excited, and complacency won't be anything you have to worry about. You'll get stoked on it, and you'll get pumped, and you'll wake up early because of it. What can I do today? And it gets really exciting from there. So there's a lot to learn and a lot to accomplish. And when you're walking with a higher power and a higher manner of dealing with life, man, it gets really, really cool. It's getting better for me. When I was operating, I never thought I'd live past my 20s, especially my 30s. And here I am, 59 years old now. I never planned for this. I was, like the 3 little pigs, you should build your house out of brick and long term. And I never thought I'd live this long because I operated so hard. I was willing to go and kick the pants out of the bad guys. And I didn't think I'd be here. And now that I am, I'm having to figure some stuff out. I'm having to learn some stuff that I should have learned when I was younger, but I'm getting excited about it, and it's cool. So yeah, I think as you start exercising this technique, your complacency will go bye-bye. Along with a lot of your problems. I mean, life, you don't want there to be no challenge because you want that opportunity to do better each time. So, and if you don't have challenges, turn and start helping others, because that's really cool too. That's how we're supposed to do, not just improve yourself and go, I got mine, I'm spiritually elevating and I'm thriving and I'm closer to God. Well, then what? Now start helping others around you. And that's one reason I'm giving this talk is I want as many of you as can hear this to benefit and elevate too. And then you go start helping other people. Then we get to this thing where there's an entire culture. There's a globe of humans raising up spiritually and becoming better in a positive energy. And what happens then, man, I don't know, but I look forward to it. Let's see what happens. You know what I mean? I know what's happening right now is pretty bad. We've left a lot of the politics to not good people. And that, like, my mom used to say, and my dad, if a wicked nation, man, you get led by tyrants, and that's kind of the punishment that you're going to suffer if you leave the politics to the bad people, and if your nation turns wicked, man, you get ruled by people who ruin everything. And so there's a lot of room for improvement. So I'm excited to see what can happen if people quit being so selfish and quit being so lustful and so materialistic and so greedy. What will happen if everybody starts elevating and looking after each other and gaining more compassion? And not to sound like a 60s hippie, but what love starts resonating and prevailing, and people start looking after each other again. I mean, what would that be like? That's a world I'd like to leave for my kids, you know? So anyway, I think that's a good place to say thanks everybody for signing on. And
Jessica is asking if Craig, Sam, and Sawyer can please close us with a prayer.
Yeah, absolutely. God, thank you. Sincerely, genuinely, thank you for this opportunity to learn what I've learned. And I know I haven't figured out a fraction of what's there, but I'm grateful for it. And I'm grateful for the ability to share it with so many people. A lot of them I know, some I don't know. And what a cool thing that is. So I just give you so much thanks for it. I thank you that you're moving in their lives, and ask you to bless them and cause this to resonate, and let them find you and grow closer and get excited and feel your love the way I do. And for it to just catch on like wildfire. I ask you for it. And I celebrate you for doing it. I know you're working. I can feel it. I celebrate it. It's a good thing. It's so good. You're a loving Father. You're a loving Creator, loving God. We give you thanks for it, and bring us all closer to you, and let us become better people for it, and let us enjoy the process. So I sign off by saying, God, thank you for all that you've given us, all that you've provided for this information and this gathering. And I pray that this message reaches far and wide, and that it's clear, that I haven't screwed it up, God, in my own flaws, that people hear what they need to hear from it, and they understand what they should, and that only good comes from it. And we ask this in your name, God. Amen. Woo!
Amen.
I feel better. I hope you guys do too. Thanks for tuning in. Share this wherever you dare. I'm going to put this up on my YouTube. I think Kim's going to share it wherever she wants to. It's not necessarily a Vets for Child Rescue thing, but I mean, Vets for Child Rescue is what we do because we care about the children. So it's an organic, I don't know, attachment, if you will, to the mission. So God bless you guys. I wish you nothing but the best. If this starts resonating, working for you, please write back and let us know, hey man, this is connecting, this is hooking up for me. It's cool. And because that encourages us that the word's getting out, and it's working for you guys too. All right. Wish you nothing but the best. Kim, once again, as always, thanks for helping and your own way, and everything you contribute seems to always be so good. So bless you for it. And appreciate you being my wingman, wing person tonight for this. And we'll see you guys out there. There's a lot more to come. And we're out.